Winehouse.
I want people to hear my voice and just forget their troubles. You gotta remember, I ain't no Spice Girl.
Amy Winehouse.
We only said goodbye with words. I died 100 times. You go back
I want to be remembered
and I go
for just being me.
black.
Eddie Marsan, who plays Amy Winehouse's dad, Mitch, joins us now. Good morning, Eddie. I remember the day hearing about Amy passing away and just feeling such sadness. She was a true talent, this iconic voice, and it was just devastating to think that she wasn't here anymore. And I know Back to Black, it's almost like a beautiful tribute to her, isn't it? And it's not just focusing on the addictions and the issues. It's about her being the talent that she was.
Yes, and the film's shot from her perspective, so it shows her love of music and the people.
And you end up feeling quite protective of him.
I did. I met him. Sam introduced me to him, and I just used him for research. I got him to give me photographs of his family, of his childhood, to give me a playlist of his favourite music, to work out what his aftershave was. He even recorded Fly Me to the Moon for me, because I have to sing it in the film. And it was a really a heartbreaking thing. When he recorded Fly Me for the Moon to me, at the end of it, he said, "There you go, love you." And when he said that to me, I've got 4 teenage children, and whenever they leave the house, I say, "Love you," and that's how I talk to my kids. And someone recently described grief as love with nowhere to go. And I thought, oh, my God, this is a man full of love with nowhere to go. I know that Amy, because of her brilliance, and this is a family that's lost their child.
Yeah, and that obviously, it just resonated with you. You're both from the East End of London. There's a lot of sort of similarities in many respects. So you got him.
I got him. We got together. We're both Stepney boys, and when we got together, I mean, the air turned really blue, which it always does, to be honest with you. But I spent, last night we had a private screening for the family, for Shine Back to Black, with family and friends and people who knew Amy. And then we went and had a knees up in a local restaurant. Aunt Reenie, who's about 90. It was a lovely way to celebrate her life.
Celebrate is the word, isn't it? And that, you know, all these years later, it feels like that does have to be done, because obviously there's always going to be sadness and terrible loss. But that celebration of what she did achieve has to be celebrated.
I think the reason it was so painful for the country when she died, that in order to deal with that pain, they had to find someone to blame, because that's how you deal with trauma. You try to make sense of it. And it's easy to blame someone. It's easy to blame her husband, Blake. It's easy to blame Mitch. But we all know families where there's loving parents and yet one child suffers from addiction, because that's the nature of addiction, you know, and blame never saved anybody's life.
Yeah, and you mentioned Sam there, the director, of course. Very sensitive to the storyline, wasn't she? She wanted to get it right.
She did, she did.
It's a big, we know 100 years ago, we're still feeling like we're living it.
Well, we don't, in many ways, we don't know the story. What we know is the narrative that was perpetuated, but we don't really know the story. If you just spent the night with Amy's family and friends like I did, you realise that there's a whole different story to come along. And one of the confusing things is that the film celebrates the fact that Amy said, there's a great scene in the film, she's not a self-volition, the idea to be independent. And yet, when she died, the narrative was, she's a victim. Well, you can't, if she would have been a victim, if she would have been controlled that much, she would have been a Spice Girl. She would have been manipulated by the media, and she wasn't. She was independent and unique.
She was her own person. And a huge role for Marisa Abela to take on board, wasn't it? And to sing as well.
I know. What a brave performance song.
Yeah.
I mean, as an actor, I know that she didn't want to stop acting. When she started to sing, she wanted to, all the work she'd done, the psychological and emotional context that she brought to the role, she wanted to put that into the songs. And I completely understand that. And on the trailer now, everything you hear, that's Marisa singing. That's not Amy singing, that's Marisa.
Very, very tough work, and it was a lot of work, and she speaks about that. A big weekend in your household, really, Eddie, because Back to Black, it's in cinemas tomorrow, but also premiering on Apple TV Plus tomorrow is Franklin.
It is, yes.
Now, I love this. You're taking us back to 1776, Benjamin Franklin, and you're playing John Adams,
I
the
am,
second
yes.
president
Yes.
of the United States. This is going back to my history classes.
I
I'm
know,
remembering
I know.
this.
See, I find
Founding
that
father,
fascinating.
you see, I'm in already. And you love it too,
Oh, I
don't
love
you?
it. I love the history. I remember reading the John McCulloch book about John Adams 18 years ago, and it was an amazing book. What an amazing man. All of those founding fathers were incredible.
Yeah, and the twists and turns
Yes.
of what happened back then. And
Yes.
I mean, they changed the course of history.
They did, and there's a great parallel between what's happening with Ukraine and Russia and the war, the American colonists and the War of Independence against the British, because it was a major world power trying to occupy people who wanted independence, and those who wanted independence going to other countries to try to raise money. So there's a real great parallel.
It does, exactly. It does. It repeats itself constantly, doesn't it? Well, Eddie, thank you. Such a pleasure to have you in the studio today. Like we say, Back to Black Cinemas tomorrow.
Thank you
and
very
Franklin
much.
as well on Apple TV.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's very kind. Thank you.
Still